Hey guys, how are ya? I guess I'm back. I know. This is not good YouTube stuff to be absent. And I've been absent for a couple months. There's heavy stuff to talk about, but before we hit the heavy stuff, a little bit of house cleaning. Where the hell have I been? Okay. Quick version of that is I have a son, one son. This is my only kid. And this is the beginning of his freshman year of college. He's starting college. He started college. He was up there in August. And he's going to Syracuse University. He is at the Newhouse School of Public Communications, which is, he's a video editor. He is a graphic design person. And Newhouse is to television, journalism, TV journalism, all of that, sort of what USC is to film school, or what Juilliard is to classical piano players. It's that kind of place. It's got a 10% acceptance rate to Newhouse. You can get into Syracuse, but getting into Newhouse is tough. It was his dream program. He got in. My guy is a very careful, pragmatic, not terribly social, and never been away from home. And like I say, to describe him as pragmatic and careful is probably understating it. I was not worried about him, but it is natural for anybody. It happened to me. I think it's natural for most people to go away to college, and there's an adjustment period. A good 6 weeks, maybe 8. I thought, considering how well I know him, and I know that mid-October, and he would start to find his feet as he got ready for midterms and all that. And I thought that would be great. So I don't want to sound like I was thinking it was going to be a disaster for him, but there's so much to take in. Can I live? Can I just take care of myself? It's one thing to think, yes, well, of course I can, but another thing to do it. Have to take care of everything now. He's a guy he's very, there's not a lot of food he likes. He's the king of the chicken nugget. Yes, he'd find food, but just normal living stuff. There's that. You've got a roommate. Never had anything like that before. What's that going to be like? Am I going to be able to handle these classes? Am I going to be able to handle the schedule? The whole social aspect. There's a lot, right? So I don't want to sound like I lacked confidence, but I thought it was the right place. I felt good, but all of those concerns were unfounded. I've been amazed just how easily this has gone for him. A guy is just kicking it. He's killing it. He's made friends. He gets along with a roommate. The classes haven't been too tough. He's doing very well academically. They've discovered him at the Newhouse School because he's a good editor. And upperclassmen are using him to do all the editing because they don't have enough editors. Everyone wants to be in front of the camera. So at any rate, he's having a great fall. Everyone was like, Dave was never going to recover. He spent all those years with that kid, and now the kid's going to be gone. He's going to be destroyed. Few people thought that. They were wrong. If he was struggling, I would have been nervous. I would have been concerned, right? And it would have taken me off my game. And is it a little weird to be, look, for many years now, it's been, besides all my other stuff going on in my life, I've been taking care of the dude, making sure the dude gets to school and gets out of school and all the stuff associated with school, So all that's gone. I'm thrilled, actually, to have that gone. I was never that crazy about it in the first place, but because it's all about getting to college to me. Some people are just built to be stars in high school, and other people are born to be stars in college and life. And my kid is the latter, and so I'm so thrilled he's where he needs to be. So, gee, if I have more free time, why aren't I here more? Well, because I had more free time and I wasn't dealing with all that stuff, my day gig is I'm a musician and I'm a composer, right? And so I've been really busy putting together a lot of music, and it's been a blast. I'm getting into, I want to get into sync licensing. I got a royalty check not too long ago, and because and I didn't know, someone used it on YouTube or whatever, and I was just like, how about that? Okay. And it was just like, why aren't I doing more of this stuff? And so I've put together some short pieces in a variety of styles, and I am pitching it to music libraries and music supers and those sort of folks. And we'll see. Eventually, someone will say, I like it, because that's just the nature of, it's a sales 101 thing. So I've been very busy doing that. I'm also busy writing music just for my own projects, for my own edification. And okay. All right. So that's what's been going on. And I've been so sort of underwater with that. I did get a trip. I went overseas for a few days, which was fantastic. So I've had a busy fall, and I just haven't been here. So I'm like, okay, I got to fix that. And now there's a reason that we're coming up on a big date, right? There's a lot of different ways to try to approach this. Let's start with my own perspective is, look, I am an independent who leans very much to the left. I'm not a Democrat because the Democrats drive me bananas far too often. They're often far too centrist. They often don't fight nearly hard enough. So I'm to the left. I'm not a socialist. I don't have a problem with socialists, because, you know, socialist is one thing and communism is something else. Communism doesn't work. Well, I love making money. Money's good. But I also think if we go too far the other direction, and we have, I think it's there's an unbelievable amount of inequity that goes with that, and it all becomes about bread. And I think there are more important things in life. So I lean to the left. 4 years ago, my candidate was Kamala Harris, and she didn't run much of a campaign. And there were a lot of women in that field. Kristen Gillibrand, who should be you would think, would be a natural as a presidential candidate, actually. There are plenty of people. Warren didn't do well. But there were a lot of women, and the vote got all split. And I've never been a Joe Biden fan. He was always way too centrist for me. At the same time, if it was going to be Biden versus Trump, I was all Biden. My feelings about Donald Trump have not changed that much since I realized he was a charlatan as a junior in high school, when he was the owner of the New Jersey Generals of the original USFL. You can go back that far, you're like, oh, he's a joke. And it was also obvious through the 80s that this guy, it wasn't just right, it was... people throw around terms like socialist, and they don't know what it means. And people throw around fascist sometimes, and sometimes don't know what it means. But if you do know what it means, you realize he really is one. You check out the philosophy. What is it that they think? You know, there's the ultra-nationalism, all of that stuff. That's just part of that. And you go, oh, this ticks off all the boxes. So whether the MAGA crowd sees themselves as being openly fascistic, and some of them do, or not, they still tick off all the boxes. I think most of them don't have any idea. We're just patriotic Americans, right? You know. So I think there's a lot of folks who have no critical thinking skills and just don't know what these words mean. And if they did, they would say, no, well, that's not me. They would. It's extraordinary, but that's the state of play. So I think it's a big deal to be getting involved. Now, last summer, when the first Biden debate happened, I'm like, oh, he's screwed. And I was one of the ones early on going, oh my God, you know, you got to get him out of there. He's going to get killed. He should get killed. It was terrible. Look, he had given a very good State of the Union in the spring. And you're like, you know what? Maybe he's up for this. Because he is really old. And when I mentioned the age problem, I got shot down by a lot of Democrats saying what a terrible guy I was, how ageist I was. Yes. Well, there's a problem. My problem with that one is, so is nature. I mean, People get older and it's right. It's only going in one direction. People not much older than me shouldn't be in charge of anything. I'm cool with that. I was thinking of nuclear submarine commanders. There comes a point, right, where the U.S. Navy goes, we'll take the keys now because they can't do the gig anymore. There's a maximum age. How ageist that is, how wrong. No. It's a good idea because they can't do it anymore. Come on. So, I'm going to sound like I'm right-wing somehow. I'm like way to the left. But I do, I don't, no. People get older and look, should we be running for disqualifying people purely because, of course not, right? Everyone tends to think, oh, it's a slippery slope and now you're going in. Not necessarily. If any position is a slippery slope to something, right? Okay. So I'm not, but I thought Biden was getting too old. It was a fair criticism. I was like, they should get Harris in there and get over. And again, was a lot of, I got told what a bad guy, but you just don't understand how things work. See, it's a party system and they have to get together. See, oh, okay, guys, I know, but where there's political will, anything can be done. It isn't even tough. Hell, they got her installed over the course of a weekend. You could tell on Friday that what was going to happen next Monday. I think it ended up either Sunday afternoon or maybe it was Tuesday. It was done. Good. They need to make that move. Again, I like her. I've liked her for a while. When she was California AG, I have, my wife's an attorney. And of that generation. So women attorneys of that generation I am familiar with. And my wife's big sister, my sister-in-law, is also an attorney. Big firm, partner, in fact. And she's a serious lady. And she does not talk about the law in a way that anyone could confuse as being cavalier. Very serious about her business. Should be. You got no problem with that. But she's a serious lady. And she had to go meet with the California Attorney General at one point. When she came back, she was sitting around my dining room table. And I said, hey, I understood you met with the California AG. Yes, I had to go out there in meetings. I said, what did you think of Kamala Harris? And she didn't speak. And I saw her, and I have a lot of respect for my sister-in-law. She never says anything she's not sure of. That's why she's a good lawyer, right? I mean, an economy of words, an excellent use of language, able to say precisely what she means. And I watched this focus happen because the really smart people I love when they zero in, because you could see it just go, it's like a tunnel. And they're like, okay, I'm going to get a good answer now. And after a moment there, this long pause, she looked at me and said, formidable, tough negotiator, doesn't miss anything, tough, really tough, really bright, really tough. Okay. And I was like, I wasn't surprised, but it was neat to hear somebody who had to negotiate with her, a tough negotiator herself, and not someone who glowingly compliments everybody, sit there and go, okay, yeah, this is real deal. This is on the level. I think Harris is the kind of person who is would be better at the job than ever be a candidate. I don't think she's a natural. Bill Clinton was a natural candidate. He lived to be a candidate. But I think Harris will be extremely competent at the job. Anyway, so where are we at? All right, let's talk maps. Let's talk all of that. And there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's a lot of push from the right to get polls in there that will skew the averages and make it look like it's closer than it is. I think she's going to win. I think the blue wall probably holds. The only state I'm a little unsure of is Wisconsin. Everyone's saying right now, this is the Thursday before Election Day on Tuesday. Everyone's saying now, Pennsylvania is tight. I think she'll hold Pennsylvania. I think Wisconsin could go. But she has more paths. Since the polling issue seems to be to me that it is not adjusted for in 4 years. It has not been adjusting for a Dobbs. All the red wave was going to happen 2 years ago and didn't happen. It was all this pushback, which should have been, right? An off-year election, the party not in power, the presidency usually does very well. You would expect it. And it didn't happen. Now, they took the House, but they barely took the House. And everyone said they were going to take the House by a large margin. They didn't. Because of all of this voting regarding Roe Dobbs. And that has not changed in special elections for years now. And the polling, the modeling is not adjusted to that. I don't know why, but it hasn't. And it seems to be, I think it's going to miss it again. We're seeing huge, in the early vote, huge amount of the gender gap in key places. So that's, I think she's going to win. The state I'm really looking to will be really bellwether for me. So let's talk bellwethers. For me, the state that's a bellwether is North Carolina. If she were to take North Carolina, and it's very tight there, and normally I would not pick it. Biden almost won it. It was close. I think that she could win North Carolina. As I understand, last thing I was seeing was it was basically tied. Maybe exactly tied. If she wins there because of a lot of early vote or a lot of Democratic vote or a lot of extra turnout or a lot of more enthusiasm on that side or a heavy, more women voting, and consider there's a gubernatorial race there that is a disaster because this guy is such a mess. If people are voting because they are seeing that guy, they're voting for the Democrat for governor, well, they're not going to split. I don't see the ticket splitting. That's got to help her by maybe a point, which is all it's going to take. But if she wins North Carolina, and I think she's going to win Georgia. So now it's North Carolina, and say they're at North Carolina and Georgia. She can lose Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. She still wins the election. She is far more past. She could lose Arizona and Nevada in that equation and still win. She'd be like, 274 or something. There's just more paths. I think she's probably holding on to the blue wall. But we're not going to know that till the next day or the day after, right? That's going to take a few days to suss out. But we may know North Carolina that night. If we know North Carolina that night and it goes, no, she doesn't need it. But if it goes, it's done. It's done. She's going to win this thing. To me, that's very bellwether. Let me throw a few other ones that I think. There are a couple other things that people, this time of year, if you don't know, what do? You go find people who do. I'm a big believer in keeping track of news outlets, which are not getting it done and haven't been getting it done for arguably at least since 2016, maybe 2015. They've fallen apart. They're so running scared, right? The Post recently, Bezos, we're neutral. We're neutral on all things. Well, the press was never neutral. The press shouldn't be neutral. Yes, there should be a wall. The old New York Post, there was a wall between editorial and the news division. Literally a wall between them. They are separate things. But the papers, no, we cannot. We're above such thing. You're not supposed to be above such things. They can't. Well, we're not involved in any way. No, news can't be involved. The paper, from an editorial point of view, definitely can be involved. So you see those folks running scared. Not because they think he's going to win. They're just hedging their bets. And frankly, there's a lot of bad stuff going on there. But you see them getting it wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong and still doing the same thing. Well, you don't listen to them. I've been finding online, we used to be Twitter, now it's Threads, although most of the time it's the same people. Chris Boozy, among other people, who started Spoutable because he got tired of what was going on with Twitter. But there are people out there who are really good number crunchers and can give you some great information. And they've got no real skin in the game. They're not getting paid to do this. All right? And they love data. There's a poll out of Iowa, the Seltzer poll. Yeah, the Seltzer poll out of Iowa is a good one. It is a fantastic snapshot, bellwether-wise, of where rural America is. Now, we're expecting a new one just before the election, which I will be fascinated by. But give you an idea of how that tends to work. Trump beat Clinton by like 9 points in Iowa in the Seltzer poll in 2016. Trump beat Biden by 8 points in the Seltzer poll. Yet Biden won the election. So somewhere between that 9 and 8 points is a tipping point about what's going on in rural America. Trump needs to win rural America by those 9 points. And Seltzer poll gets it right year after year and cycle after cycle after cycle. Who is worth listening to instead of the guys who are the talking heads on CNN who'll say anything because they've gotten into the business of, I'm going to give you that quick dopamine fix, the outrage of the moment. Tomorrow there'll be a new one. From day to day, it contradicts itself. I'm not just talking CNN, Fox, obviously. MSNBC's no better. Let's scare them today. This should scare the hell out of them because it drives revenue. You know, yeah, well, I'll get into it in a moment, but the last Seltzer poll had Biden beating Harris by 4. Trump beating, sorry, did I say Biden? Trump beating Harris by 4. Again, let's go back. Trump beat Clinton by 9, wins the election. Trump beat Biden by 8, he loses the election. Last time we checked, Trump was over Harris by 4. That's a big turn. If that is indicative of, you know, where rural America is at, Trump's in for a long night. You know, he has a hard ceiling. I don't think he's gotten lots of new voters. I think lots of new people just suddenly now love Trump. I don't see that. So he needs to peel off votes wherever he can. And the Democrats seem very fired up because they're very nervous. And when they get nervous, they go out and vote like crazy. They've also have better ground game. Much better ground game. So I'm going to be curious about that Seltzer poll. Going back to the members of the press, you know, it could be, Nora O'Donnell at CBS or Cooper at CNN or who's the other one? I'm thinking of another reporter at CNN, Burnett. Very, very moneyed, once upon a time liberals. And less so in Cooper because Cooper comes from money, but to a degree, these people have been, I feel like they've been bought off. If they haven't been bought off with the money, they've been bought off with the prestige. They are. And they are very sure they're extremely important people. And was it Charlemagne the God just went after Cooper and CNN the other day. And Cooper was truly on his heels and didn't have and couldn't believe that anyone would question because there is this conceit that they are above questioning. They really believe it. And it's no surprise Americans hate them. Right? Why is the press so despised? It's not just despised by the right. It's despised pretty universally. They're very full of themselves. And I think deep down they know what the game is. This hasn't been journalism for a long time. They talk about it, but the hypocrisy is extraordinary. So very often I get better information by finding number crunchers. Chris Boozy, I think I mentioned Chris Boozy before. Chris Boozy is the guy who he nailed 2020. And he's, again, number cruncher kind of guy. And then he went in 22, he was the guy saying there will be a red wave. No red wave. Ain't happening. Everyone thought he was nuts. And he got the House in 22 closer than anybody else. I think he missed by 2 or 3 seats. Extraordinary. Now, he has come out with his 24 maps. Everyone says the Senate looks bad, and I agree, the Senate looks very bad. But now suddenly Tester's back in the game, and Sherrod Brown might win. And all red is on Cruz's ass. I don't think he nips him. But Boozy, this one blew me away because I don't think it's happening at all. But Chris Boozy's no joke, and Chris Boozy thinks what he thinks for a reason. He never just... He thinks the Senate seat flips in Florida, and he thinks Florida flips, which nobody is seeing. And nobody is seeing, especially with the early vote turnout. Looks very red. Looks done. I think so too. I don't think it's not even a thing to talk about. And I wouldn't have talked about until last night. Boozy did a podcast thing, which actually crashed because there were so many people trying to check it out. But he put up his maps, and he started to talk about Florida when the thing crashed. We didn't get the whole explanation, but we got enough of it so that I got some sense of why he was thinking what he was thinking. Chris Boozy is great at understanding what happens on a really, really local level. Although, I'm talking about the Seltzer poll and how Iowa can be a microcosm for a large swath. Boozy tends to want to know what's going on right there. And his argument about Florida is, what's happened in most of the country is now we do early voting. Early voting has become big, coming out of the pandemic, and now it's become this thing. First, only Democrats did it. Now, the Republicans will be told, do it. So the Republican numbers are up, but the Democratic numbers are also up. So, okay. And he goes, that doesn't seem to be applying to Florida. Because Florida does weird things, and Florida is a weird state, and voting behavior is different there. And he goes, no, they haven't continued to early vote. They're going back to more closely what they did in 2016, as far as the actual voting behavior is concerned. Early voting and all of that. And he goes, Republicans have gotten the message to do some early voting. Okay. He goes, but what we usually see is a lot of early vote for the Democrats, and then on election day, all those Republican votes come up, and it gets very, very, very tight. Okay. He goes, opposite this cycle in Florida. The Republicans will run up the number, and the Democrats are going to show up on the day. That's what he thinks. Now, I don't know. I thought Florida might be interesting because of the abortion initiative on their ballot, and that might really ramp things up. I don't think Florida is even possible. But Chris made me think about it, and I thought if what he's saying is true, if that's the way it plays out, it could be this incredible surprise. I don't see it. With me, I see North Carolina being right on that edge. I think the blue wall holds. Wisconsin might go, but I think we're going to get Georgia. And then what happens in Nevada and Arizona won't matter. With all of that, there is another concern. I'm concerned about the Senate. I think they're going to lose the Senate more than likely. Although if the Senate ends up being a tie and you've got the one vote as a vice president, I could live with that. My worry is the House, and I see very little coverage about the House. But you'd like to think that there's a down ballot, but perhaps not. You know, I'm in a very red district. I'm just north of New York City, but it's New York 17, which is Mike Lawler, who's just absolute awful human being, and I voted yesterday, blue straight down the line, and I voted for my main man, Mondaire Jones. So I don't think Mondaire is going to win, but part of this district is in Westchester. I hope that crowd really turns out. Mondaire might have a shot. Who knows? I think we're going to take back some of the districts in New York that we lost in the House was lost because of California and New York. But the House is going to be absolutely necessary, because if it isn't, if there is a Democratic House that is seated on January 3rd, Hakeem Jeffries gets the gavel, fine. There's going to be no messing around with trying to overturn the election. If the Democrats don't win the House, they will try to overturn the election. It's a given, and they've got a Supreme Court in their back pocket. I think that's a given. For the Democrats, they not only have to win the election, they have to win the fight after the election. Now, in 2020, it was bothering me then. Right after the election, I said, he's not leaving. And everyone thought, again, I'm one of those where everyone's like, Dave, you're crazy. You've lost your mind, Dave. He's not going anywhere. He's going to find a way. He was doing all sorts of stuff. He's not going anywhere. If he's going to try to pull something. Now, I didn't predict January 6th. No. But once it started, I wasn't all that shocked. And Democrats oh, I can't believe someone would do that. I mean, there is nothing these guys won't do. Nothing. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care who they kill. And they'd love to kill. If you're on the left, they want you dead. Did you see what the speeches were like at Madison Square Garden recently? They were talking about that. I mean, this is a very serious threat. And I think Democrats do get it, and the left does get it enough. But you got to win the House too. Because you've got to win the election, then you've got to win the fight afterwards. I'm sure Harris has got very good lawyers. Mark Elias is out there. There's good people. All right. I think they can keep it together. But it's going to be, that will remain an interesting period. I think she'll win, but then she's got to win again. She's got to win that legal point. We've got to somehow get to the inauguration. That's what we've got to get to. We get there, then we'll be okay. But the first big step is to go win the election. So keep an eye on North Carolina. I don't think Florida's going anywhere, but I don't think Chris Buzzi is a dope either. I would like to see if any of what he's saying is the voter behavior turns out to be true. It's in the back of my mind. It's not forefront of my mind. I'm thinking about North Carolina. I'm thinking about Georgia. I'm thinking about the blue wall states. That's what I'm thinking about. On that night, what else can I throw at you? Another one of the bellwethers, though, is I think it's Lincoln County in Indiana. It'll go solidly red, but it's another one of those bellwether counties. There's a few in Virginia that are always like this. Are very predictive of the overall election result. And they're seeing a huge, the enthusiasm is just down. Look, again, I'm in a reliably red area, very red, and I don't see the enthusiasm for him. I don't see it. I don't see as much of the signs. I don't see the truck parades. There were places where there were a whole bunch of signs of people whooping it up and parties. And no, I don't see it happening. They're not doing that. So, and in something that's this close, there's a little less enthusiasm. or there's some bleed off, or there's some women there who have been Republican their whole lives and go, I can't do it. I ain't doing it. And they vote for Kamala, I think she's going to be all right. But if she loses Pennsylvania, I'm not going to be freaking out, because I think she'll win a couple other states and it'll work out. I think she could very well win North Carolina, and I think she's going to win Georgia, and I think she's going to win Michigan. Numbers look pretty good there. And here's the other thing. Did you see the speech she gave on the ellipse and the crowd? You know, they originally had a permit for like 20,000 people. And then they increased it to 40,000 because they realized that many more people. And I guess I think it was closer to 60. There have been higher estimates, but I'm not sure I buy that. Sounds inflated. But at least 60,000 people came out to see her. And it did look amazing. And it did look, rather iconic with the, Washington Monument there. I saw some photos and was like, oh, powerful image. So we will see how it goes. Look, I may be off. There's a lot to be worried about. One other thing. Someone's going to say when this is over, I have a mandate. Nobody has a mandate. A third of the country doesn't vote. So take 33%, chuck it. Now it's the next 33% versus the next 33%. One of those 33% will be 34 to 32. Okay, they win. 34% versus the whole part that viscerally hates them, and the other part that's asleep. So 65%, thereabouts, right? Good 2/3 of the country is either violently opposed to who the winner is, or it doesn't even know it's happening. Huh? Because that's how, was it Mencken? Was it P.T. Barnum? No one will ever go broke by underestimating the intelligence of the American people. It's a spectacular line, which happens to be true. Critical thinking skills just aren't there. I do spend a lot of time online. Man, there are some dopes out there. Wow, there's some really, really stupid people. Some dumb cats. No shortage. Really dumb cats. There is a burgeoning fascist movement. It's the same guys as the Tea Party. Trump didn't invent this. It's been around since the end of the Confederacy. Same folks, believing the same shit. Right? It's the same thing. So nothing's really changed. We're still fighting the same fights about the same things. What we really need to do, people are like, oh, after this, if she wins, it all disappears. Apparently there's fairy dust and it all disappears. It doesn't work that way. They don't disappear. If you want to make change, obviously you need a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate, a Democratic president, and then the political will to push it to remake the country. What you really need, though, more than anything else, is ordinary citizens in their everyday life making cultural choices, making value choices, saying enough about this, oh, the police are perfect people, or everyone in the military is automatically a hero, or we must all do flag waving because we're the greatest country in the world. The minute you say your country is the greatest in the world, it means everybody else's isn't the greatest country in the world. And if they're not as good, do they really deserve the same stuff? I mean, this is where we go. That's why historians, think so poorly of nationalism. It is fundamental. I don't care whose nationalism. British nationalism is awful. They're convinced they're Britannia rules the waves. They still think the British Empire is going on. A large portion of that crowd. And is indignant if they're not getting that respect, that thing they've got. Oh boy. And there's Italian nationalism, there's Chinese nationalism, there's clearly Russian nationalism. And it's never good. And American nationalism is no better. So we need to remake our culture and make different choices. So, there's your election. I think she wins. She wins, I think, solidly, although I would not be shocked if this really tips. There's a real break, and she wins big. I'm willing to bet that she wins solidly, but I think there's a real good chance. I don't see far less chance that he wins, period. I think it's a tougher road for him. He has less, the electoral map is less friendly to him. I don't see him winning these things. Again, better win the House, because then they're going to play games. Because there's nothing they won't do. And they're not interested in democracy or anything else. In fact, they openly speak against it. They never really believed in that much anyhow, which is no shock. All right, I've only been following politics since I was 10. I'll admit, I wasn't a poli-sci major. I'm just a crazy musician trying to make their way in the universe. But sometimes I think there's a certain advantage to that. I think we see some dark sides of humanity, and we tend to do, our eyebrows. We could see the hypocrisy. We're not wild about it. And we'll see. Hopefully we either have something nice to talk about, or we're going to be in big trouble, having to live a defensive sort of life for a while. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I'm sorry I haven't been around. I'm happy I'm back. I'll try to be back again. It's going to be busy. We're getting into holidays. It gets crazy this time of year, but I will make an effort. Maybe we do an election debrief and see if any of that, who got it right, so that we can now try to hone in on those folks and listen to them next time. And because we should keep score, those that are getting wrong, we should be more dismissive of. It's not a one-off. If you keep getting it wrong, you are not credible. Therefore, don't listen to them. Let's see how this plays out. I'll be there's always surprises. So something is going to probably surprise us. Some area goes in a direction we didn't see it coming. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how close any of this was. All right. Or maybe we talk about it as they're still counting the votes. I doubt I'll get to that. I'm going to be too glued to televisions and my phone. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you all soon. And yeah, that's the scoop for the moment. Let's hope.